Our first question is from Ecuador. It is from the Universidad Espíritu Santo in the beautiful city La Perla del Pacífico, Guayaquil, Ecuador.
What sort of strategies or tactics could be applied in Latin America and in countries such as Ecuador, Peru, or Bolivia, in a political and social environment as well as economic environments that are ever so changing? How can we apply these tactics?
Well, I think the tactics stay the same in terms of the core principles on which successful leadership is built. And I think if you look at the 7 categories of the Malcolm Baldrige Award, that's a very good starting place. I think the difficulty that you're expressing with respect to a changing political and social environment, and I'd almost like to say an evolving or emerging political and social environment in Ecuador and Peru and Bolivia, I think as your political and social systems mature, business will lead the way in many of these changes. So my point is that strategies and tactics will remain constant as long as they serve the fundamental needs of the stakeholders to achieve results. And then those strategies and tactics will also creep into the fabric of your political and socio-economic changes for the better, I think.
Our next question is from Mexico. It is from the Instituto Tecnológico de Mérida, which is in the city of Mérida in the state of Yucatan in Mexico.
Yes, good morning. I have a question of a member of the CTM of Mérida, Yucatan in Mexico. We know that this is quite common, that creative ideas are then trumped by generational ideas, because many of our leaders think that the ideas can surpass this. So how can we build a bridge between creative ideas and leaders?
That's an excellent question. And I think at the heart of your question, there is an evolutionary process that each generation brings to the forefront in terms of its creative aspect, and then trying to define those creative tactics or strategies into actual business practices. And I wouldn't look at it so much from the standpoint of a generation that's just bringing a whole new body of knowledge to the table, but rather each generation really does build on the successes and the failures of the previous generation. So what I'm referring to is 2 things that are happening with this Generation Y that's beginning to take power throughout the world. The first is that they are very value-based. They believe that we ought to operate businesses from a values perspective rather than just a personality perspective of the leader. And I think the second tactic that's taking place that the new Generation Y is bringing to the forefront is this strong emphasis on show me your results. If you say you're a good leader, if you say you have a good strategic plan, if you say that you're customer focused, then how does that all contribute to the bottom line of profitability and achieving better results? So I think that's going to be the significant contribution of this Generation Y that's now just coming into the power play.
Thank you. I think our next call is an iPhone call from the Comisión Federal de Electricidad, LAPEM, in Irapuato, in the state of Guanajuato, in Mexico.
some difficulties with the connection if you want to go on to our next question.
Okay. Would you like me to respond to the question?
No, we're going to go ahead. We're going to play the next module. We had a little technical difficulty. Let's move again to your important messages on the second module of the topic of this program.